Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? I'm testing the audio. Can you hear me? I know it's a few. Hold on, give me a quick second. Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me? I know you said there was. I see someone says no sound. Is there sound now? Is the sound coming through? Test 1 2. Okay, I'm testing. I can see it on my phone too now. There, it looks like there is sound coming through. Uh, you guys are a little delayed, so I can tell. It's all good though. Listen, we're about to get into it, but before we get started right now, definitely want to go ahead and make sure that you guys close out any extra tabs that you have in your browser. I want to take the first 5 minutes before we get started to set things up really good. You know what I'm saying? Because this I want you to have the tools and everything you need to get the most out of this before this is over. So we got to make sure that we have everything before we start. And I want to make sure that you guys do have other tabs, browsers, programs, applications, things that will distract you before we bring Jonathan on. I want those closed out because we want you to get the most out of this class. All right. And then number 2, this is an interactive masterclass. This is interactive. This is not you just looking at your computer or looking at your phone. This is interactive. So we want to make sure that you have the things that you need. And this means that you need to be at your drum kit, obviously, and you need your drumsticks, possibly a sweat towel for sure, a bottle of water, some headphones maybe even, so that while you're playing along with what Jonathan is showing you and teaching you, that you can still hear what's going on. So I see you guys are networking in the comments, and I love it. Shout out to all of you guys. You know, I see Charles Edgar Gray, the Bishop. I see Biscotti, Dixon, Pocket Groove, Chosen, Jim Linzer, Rock. Listen, I appreciate all you guys for being in here. We got about 71 of you guys in here, and we're expecting some more of you guys to come through. But as you guys come, hopefully you got all the stuff that you need. So let's keep going. You got to stay to the end. This is important because he's going to go over a lot of stuff. He's going to cover a lot of grounds, and we know that you're going to have questions. And so we will, at the very end, be having a live Q&A, but you have to be here at the end for the Q&A. And this live stream, this is live. You have to be here while it's live, while it's happening, because once this is over, this is over. We're shutting it down. It's not going to be a replay. You're not going to be able to see it on YouTube. You're not going to be able to see it on the site. This is what it is. It's for those of us who are here right now. So get your questions ready. You know what I'm saying? As you go on, as you start having questions, write them down. And even if your questions aren't related specifically to what we're teaching in this session, you can always ask your drum related question. It doesn't matter. We're here to answer. That's what we're gonna do. All right. So before we get into it, I do want to talk to you guys about the 5 reasons that we know there's 5 reasons that drummers fail, that they fail at trying to get better at the drums. I want to do this like this because I think I can solve this issue from the top, just give you the value that you need. But before I do want to ask you guys a quick question, because obviously you're here because you're ready to take your drumming to the next level. But how many of you are struggling at getting better on the drums on your own? Like, you've been playing for a while, you feel like you've hit a plateau maybe, and you're not getting to where you want to go fast enough, or you know, you sit down to practice, you don't know what to practice. Let me know in the comments. Type yes in the comments if that's you, if you've struggled to get better, if you've hit a wall, or you feel like you are stuck and you want to get unstuck. Type yes in the chat. I'm gonna give you guys a few seconds because I know there's a little delay. Marlon Flower says me. He says that's me. I'm one of the guys. Who else? We got yes right here from Craig Coleman. We got yep. I don't know how to pronounce that, but Hills Lionel, Terrence Gooden, the pocket drummer. Listen, I understand especially when drummers say I'm a pocket drummer. Chances are, you know, there's some parts of their drumming that they haven't really spent time developing, and they want to do that. When we got Jonathan Luther, in some aspects, definitely Brandon Jenkins. Listen, I think we can get this solved with these concepts right off the bat. So let's start with let's see where we at. The 5 reasons. Reason number 1, drummers don't know what they want to be better at. This to me is huge. I feel like not knowing what you want to get better at, or not knowing what skills you need to acquire to reach the goal that you think you have in your mind, because sometimes you'll think that, oh, I want to get my chops together. Why can't I play drum fills around the kit? But there's something in between there that you haven't acquired that's keeping you from getting there. And not knowing that and not knowing what that is one of the main things that keeps drummers from getting better at the drums. Number two is trying to get better at everything at the same time, AKA shiny object syndrome. And this is when you start off playing and you start off practicing something because you're trying to get better, but then you see something cool on Instagram, or you see something else dope on YouTube, or you see something dope on TikTok, and all of a sudden now you're practicing that, and you never spend enough time to go deep enough on that one topic to actually see the results. That's another reason that drummers tend not to get better. They struggle to get better. Number three, they don't know what they want to be better at, or they don't know how to get there, or they know what they want to get better at, but they don't know how to get there. So you may have an idea like, man, I wish I can play like this, or I wish I could do this type of thing. But when you sit down to practice, you have no clue what path to take to get you there. That's something else we're going to try to solve for you guys today. And then we go on not tracking your progress. And I definitely don't hear a lot of drummers or instructors talking about this. But this is an important thing, because when you really pay attention to it, when you really think about it, tracking things is the only way that you'll know how far you've come. Weightlifters track how much they lift. Athletes track their stats and watch game film. Businesses track their metrics and do all that stuff as well. And they do it because if you don't, you won't know how you're growing. And the issue with this for drummers is when you're getting better on the drums, it is incremental sometimes. Sometimes you can tell that you're getting better quickly, but then there's times where it's incremental and you don't really feel that you're getting better. But because you haven't tracked anything, you can't even see the incremental growth. And that leads to drummers becoming discouraged and even quitting or moving on to another topic because they feel like what they're doing is pointless anyway. But if you're actually tracking your growth and paying attention and filming yourself and really analyzing what you're doing, you'll actually begin to see some of the progress that you're having, and you'll be able to be encouraged instead of discouraged. So that's another tip that I want to share with you guys. And then this fifth one is inconsistency. Now, this is a big one. How many of you guys have started practicing and you said, man, I'm going to practice consistently. I'm going to practice 4 days, 5 days a week. And you start off that week, you do it. And then the next week, it's not so consistent. Let me know in the comments. Type yes if that's you. Type yes in the comments if that's you. If you are someone who starts off with a goal like, I'm going to be consistent, but then you're not. You start off consistent 1 week, 2 weeks maybe, then you fall off. I want to see in the chat if that's anybody here. Now, I know there's a little quick delay, so I'm going to give you guys a second to type yes if that's you. And while you're doing that, I definitely want to let you know that consistency is the active ingredient. It's the active ingredient to improvement. And that's improving at anything. If you're not consistent in what you're doing, it doesn't matter what you're doing. It matters what you do consistently. So I need you guys to keep that in mind as we go through what we're going to go through, because Jonathan I'm telling you, he's going to give you guys a bunch of concepts, but I want to lay these out and say this stuff out loud for you so that you can recognize it, because sometimes you may not even recognize, oh, these are the things that are in my way. And I say Dixon Ewam says, please go over the 5 reasons one more time. I definitely will. I don't want to hold everybody up in the podcast. I'm not the podcast, but the live stream and prolong it forever. But in a nutshell, I'll go backwards for you really quickly, because I'm going to cover it again at the end. They don't know what they want to be better at. You sit down in the drums and you just don't even really know what you're trying to get better at, but you say you're practicing. Number 2, you're trying to get better at everything, or the shiny object syndrome, where you keep getting distracted by thing after thing after thing, and you never go deep enough into one thing to actually see serious growth. Number 3, you don't know, or you know what you want to get better at, but you don't know how to get there. You don't have the path. You don't know which way to take, the route to go. Number 4, you're not tracking your progress, which when you're in that phase of getting better incrementally, where it's small bits of getting better, but you can't tell, you can get discouraged, and that leads to people quitting. Or if you're not getting better, if you're tracking it and you're not seeing results, you can make adjustments. That tracking of your progress actually helps you to make better decisions to make your practice more productive. And then number 5, inconsistency. Many of us are just not consistent, and that's, you got to be consistent. And so, and accountability has a lot to do with that, but I'll touch on I'll touch on that in the end. That's going to be a nice little bonus. We'll talk about that later on in the video, but I don't want to hold you guys up. I know you guys came here for our special guest, not even really a guest anymore. He's DrumTrax family now. He's an official DrumTrax drum coach, and we're going to talk about more of that in a second. But without further ado, and I'm gonna pull this up on full screen as I introduce our instructor for the evening, our clinician. Are you guys ready? Before I do this, are you guys ready? Can I get a yes in the comments for everybody who's ready for this? Say yes in the comments as I bring him on. All right. So here we go. Jonathan Collin Green, a musician, educator, rhythmic explorer. He's also the drummer for Anamika. I hope I'm saying it right. Anamika. He's also played with Brave World Trio, the Vintage Astronaut, the John Ray Quintet. I believe it's Ricky or RK the Third. Jonathan, you'll correct me on that when you come on. Mr. Haircut. He's also played for Charlie Hunter and Elon JD from the Jonathan Scales Forkestra, like orchestra, forkestra. His style morphs from jazz to experimental, drum and bass to hip hop and electronic to pop. His focus on mastery of time, polyrhythms, and keen ear for musicality has kept him as an in-demand drummer in the North Carolina music scene. He's also appeared on the Drumeo Gab podcast, which we all know is one of the biggest drum podcasts on the planet. He has his own YouTube channel as well called Drumosophy, where he talks about drums from technical, conceptual, and even emotional points of view, and is now an official DrumTrax drum coach. Jonathan is unique in his approach to how he thinks about the drums and music, which comes out in his playing in a way that separates him from others. I would say, me personally, I would say that Jonathan's superpower is his ability to squeeze every ounce of useful musicality from any drumming concept he's presented with or teaching, and you will be the beneficiary of that today. So without further ado, I introduce to you your personal DrumTrax drum coach for the night, Jonathan Collin Green. Y'all give it up for Jonathan, man. Welcome, Jonathan.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Everybody in the chat, let me know if you can hear him.
Fantastic.
Let me know if you can hear him. Dickerson says, wow, that's a lot of credentials. Listen, I would not be trying to bring anything but the best to you guys tonight. And I mean, me and Jonathan are on different coasts, but we made this collaboration happen because I seen the value in it, and trust me, you guys are gonna definitely get the value in it. So I'm a head out, and well, I'm not heading out, but I'm
please, yeah, please don't,
and let Jonathan do his thing. Now, Jonathan, you can see the comments, right?
Yes, I can, even though I have to squint because I'm getting old. But yeah,
oh, wow.
I can see.
Can you and you can chat, or I guess you don't need to chat, but you can talk to them and communicate with them, and as they say things, you can respond.
Cool. And, thank you for that intro, by the way. You told me earlier.
What?
Thank you for the intro. You told me that you wouldn't read it, and it was great. So thanks very much.
And you
did get all those names right. So congratulations.
I did.
Yeah.
Wait, what about the RK the Third?
So okay, that one's weird. Not actually wearing that shirt right now. It's RK3. So a few years ago, I was in an electronic band and playing a whole bunch of drum and bass and EDM music, and that's what it was called. So
got you.
We have a couple of records out there somewhere.
Oh man, I'm sure they're gonna want to hear your records, especially after hearing you play tonight. We'll talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
But so let's get into it. I'm gonna slide back and let you do your thing.
Okay. If I ask you a question, or if I
I'll be right here.
Ether, fantastic.
I'll be right here.
Cool. How's everybody doing? I'm really excited to be back. How many of you guys were here the first time? I know there are way more of you this time than last time, but just by show of hands, anybody remember the clapping exercise that we did? We're not starting with that, but was anybody here for me before? Let me see if I can read any of that. So I have a couple of topics that I would like to cover. Hand speed in particular, because I feel like that's kind of my forte. I have fairly decent hands, I'd say, but that comes from having a good foundation in technique. And I definitely don't know all of the techniques, but I don't think you need to. If you know the sound that you're looking for and what you're trying to go after, it's actually, you can really pare down what the sound that what you're trying to go for, and then work on that. And for me, the revolution with my playing started with the molar technique. Are you familiar? Damani, can I talk to you? Are you familiar with the molar technique? Oh, you're muted again.
Not anymore. I
Okay.
am familiar with the molar technique.
All right. So would you say that like you're good, or like you could work on it some more, or it's
As
comfortable?
far
Like,
as the molar technique itself, I would say
mm-hmm,
I can work on it some more. It's
mm-hmm,
something that we were introduced to, that we found out later on in our development. Because growing up playing in church,
right.
you're not technique is like you get it out how you get it out.
That's
Uh,
true. And it's interesting that like it's reflective in the sound of that style of music. What I noticed that a lot of like R&B and church drummers have a very kind of short, almost choked sound when they hit the drums. It's
mhm,
very just kind of like strong, but it's also very short.
mhm.
So
It's because we
but
like to play fast, and we want to make sure that every note is articulated and heard,
right.
and like make sure it's clean. That's the rule.
Yeah, and I get that. But for me, coming from more of a fusion perspective, and
Yes.
it's not that like, so I don't think it has to be one way or another.
Right.
So molar is the thing that helped me flow better at first, because I realized that we all did this. We all worked entirely too hard.
Mm,
So if you were like me, you had someone say, hey man, stop using those elbows so much. Like use those wrists, like get those wrists
right.
moving. But even with that, we like a lot of drummers you'll see, and hope some of you may do this still. You kind of approach from this perspective where
Mm,
you are holding the sticks like that and your thumb is on top. So whenever you hit the drums, like you're coming down this way. And so what happens is your arm ends up being kind of like a straight extension of the sticks, kind of like that. Now, there are pluses and minuses with this style of drumming. For instance, whenever you start to get into like finger development, that kind of comes in. And in any experienced musician, if you watch their hands really carefully, they start to minimize the amount of wrist motion that they do this way in order to like make all of that stuff up with the fingers. That's perfectly fine. I definitely suggest not trying to move the wrist this way, just because that's not what your natural range of motion is. Whenever you move your hand, like you get the most range of motion if you hold your palm flat. That way you can move your hand all the way up and all the way down. And this is just, I mean, it's not just for ease of motion, but it's avoidance of injury. I don't want you guys to get hurt, right? So the first revelation from me with hand speed, just to be clear, this might be awkward to some of you, is to get used to moving the wrist along your greatest natural range of motion, right? So turn this guy into this, right? So we're starting kind of from the beginning here, but I feel like foundation is really important. So this is where, for all of you returners, the clapping exercise really comes back into play. So it is not just a wrist development exercise. It is training your wrists how to move along that same path. Because this, and I'll explain more about this in a second, this here translates more into moving this way, which is what we want. Now, allow me to circle back to this because I really want to get into the molar technique, because it's even more foundational than what I'm telling you. The molar technique is a technique of energy transference. So it's not bad to move your elbow. As I mentioned earlier, somebody may have come to you and said, hey, like stop moving from the elbow so much. Stop doing that, because slower muscles, bigger muscles move slower. And so you want to use your wrist because it's a smaller, fast twitch muscle that can move faster. Well, that's right and wrong, right? You want to be able to control your muscle groups, but for the maximum transference of power, which is sometimes why you lack power, what ends up happening is we only move from the bicep down and we don't engage from our shoulder. And we're not getting any of that power really transferred into the stick. So there are a couple. I'm sorry. Am I moving too fast?
No, keep going.
Okay. So that's the thing that I noticed about gospel, hip hop, like pop, rock, big stage types of gigs, where power can be really lacking. And if you try to force your way through it, if you just try to hit the drums harder, you can end up with injury. Oftentimes, I mean, how many of you have constant dents in your heads just from playing? Like, that is not, like, it does happen, and it happens for a few reasons, one of which is uneven tuning and just not tuning your drums enough. And we could talk about that later if you like. But it often comes through the idea of playing through the drum versus playing out of the drum. And I'm sure that some of you guys have heard this before. Again, I want to start at the beginning. So I'm not sure if you guys have ever taken any type of martial art where they teach you, or even boxing, they teach you to follow through, right? You don't want to hit the surface of whatever you're aiming for. You want to perceive the surface as through it. So you don't want to stop the energy at impact whenever you hit. You want to continue that, so you transfer all of that force into your target. That is sort of the opposite of what we do, or what we want to do whenever we play. Sorry if you've heard different. There's a reason. So whenever we play through something, and you see this all the time, where somebody will stop the snare, like the left hand, and just kind of leave the stick to deaden the snare head for a split second. There's a vibe there. There's a sound there. There's the sound that you get. There's no really other way to get that. But you have to learn to control that, because not only is it not going to work for you in everything that you're trying to play, because you're going to lose time every time that you sort of sit the thing down, the sticks down that long for playing faster, but not every style of music calls for that choked sound. So technique not only like helps you play the things that you want to play on the drum set, but it helps you sound the way that you need to sound, because not every technique or approach to holding the sticks, or where you have your fingers on the sticks, like how high, how low, all of those things affect the sound that you create, which is the most important part of this, right? So this is a molar stroke in a nutshell. What happens is, in your whole shoulder comes up, and I should really use this guy here, right? So the whole shoulder comes up, and all bits of your arm follow, some from your shoulder, your elbow, and then, like you're a puppet, the wrist, the stick follows that arc and then comes down. So whips down, like if you've ever been in a gym floor, like you were younger, you had a jump rope, and you can like whip the jump rope across the floor, and you can watch the energy, like a wave, travel through the jump rope. That's what we try to convey with the drumsticks. So there are a few different ways to interpret this, but I'm going to show you guys a quick and dirty one, just because I know there's a lot to talk about, and I want to put you doing this the fastest. So this is also the most boring, because you're going to have to stand at a wall or a door. So imagine that I am facing a door, like there is an invisible door between you and I. What you're going to do is you're going to take your fingers and your hands and put them at your side. You're going to rest the back of your hands on the door, and you're going to lift your hands up. Notice as I've lifted my hands up, see where my elbows are? So they come down, and so you're going to let your hands go all the way to you can't reach, and then you're going to plop your palms down and then follow that down. So it's almost sort of like, if for my Karate Kid fans, it's a very wax on, wax off approach of getting into the molar technique, but that's developing the big stroke, right? The gear 1 for molar. And as you get that, you start to get a little bit more fluidity, almost like, wow, this is sort of wavy. And all of those, that really translates into just whacking the crap out of the drum. Well, we have to talk about what happens after that whack. So for my inexperienced people, because again, we're starting from the beginning. I promise you, like this hopefully will get impressive soon. But the fulcrum is the part of the drumstick where I feel like rebound or the bounce of the stick feels weightless, where the stick just wants to dance, right? And so notice that I'm holding the stick between my middle finger and my thumb, not my index finger and my thumb. I do that so I can maintain this gap here. This gap with my hand is so important because as drummers, especially as we get excited and we try to play faster and harder, like we tend to tense up. And that tension is not helping us at all. And so the best thing that you can do if you're trying to play fast and stay relaxed is to keep about a stick's width of a gap between your hand right here. And that's why it's for me, it's easier to have my fulcrum here between my middle finger and my thumb so that I'm not tempted to clamp down with my index finger and my drumstick and my thumb. So those three things. I just want this to be nice and easy. Wrap the two back fingers around it. Lay my index finger over top, right? And so as I let the stick bounce, I ease up on my back fingers because if I don't, it'll choke. Like there's nothing happening. Nothing happened. The stick is not rebounding because like a donkey, like a stubborn pet, it's not giving for the stick, right? And so, you know, if you want to get used to where this feels or how this feels, you can take all of your fingers except for the principal ones. Again, in this case, my middle finger and my thumb, let those go and just practice letting the stick do its thing, right? Because for my absolute beginners, what's going to happen is that the stick is going to do a lot of lateral or side to side movement. And so you want to do this until, for one, the stick doesn't move this way. There's a sweet spot where you want to find like the minimal amount of force that it takes to hold the stick and keep the stick in place while it bounces. And that takes practice and time. So you're not just going to like start doing this and you're going to be off to the races, because again, like it's going to take a little bit to just do this and feel like you're in control of the stick. So for my beginners, those of you that haven't checked out already, I want you to try this. Whether or not you're on your drums or your practice pad, I want you to just hold the stick. Even if you hold the stick and you are like dead set on holding the stick between your index finger and your thumb, I want you to try it my way. Just for now. You could go back to your bad habits whenever this is done, right? So try it my way. So hold the stick between your middle finger and your thumb and just allow the stick to bounce, to do its thing, right? Not getting in the way. Just let it come to a complete stop. So you're not trying to like, that's coming later, right? We're getting to that, right? But right now, just let the stick do its thing. Right? And then try it with the other hand. Because, you know, most people on the planet are right-handed. And I always get questions. Jonathan, how in the world is your left hand the way it is? Why? Oh, why can you do the things that you do? And I'm like, look, whether or not it's traditional, which is a completely different motion, even though it's sort of the same, the sticks are doing most of the work. And it just starts with this. Allowing the sticks to move by themselves, unencumbered. By the way, this also solves problem number 2, because if you are letting the stick do its thing, the stick is instantly coming off of the drum head or the practice pad on impact. So you're not putting any unnecessary stress on your heads. So densing your heads and like that, you're going to increase the life of your heads by quite a bit. Please tell me this is helping somebody. Like,
Yep.
don't be silent.
You guys, in the comments, man, if you guys are enjoying this thus far, if you guys are liking what he is teaching you guys, because trust me, this is just the tip of the iceberg. We're about to go deeper for sure. But this foundational, the molar technique. First of all, how many of you actually tried the exercise where you held your stick? I got my stick in my hand right here, where I was trying it myself with the like. But for me, it was even crazy trying to hold this the stick because I'm so used to. Let me see if I can get it in my camera. I'm so used to this, right? And that's just how I grew up. So like doing this feels super awkward. It feels extra awkward. And so I'm like, okay, like, but then that gap that you were talking about right here, move this way. There you go. That gap right here, it's super there, and you can't help it from being there. Right. And even this motion here, going forward like this, and doing this versus this, because this happens a lot. To me, I know that I definitely am getting something out of it off top. It looks like we got some comments rolling in. He said, I wonder why the index finger was not wrapped around.
Okay, so I'll say that again. So for me, it is about not being tense. It's for the same reason that like whenever you work out, you do push-ups or whatever, you're not supposed to hold your breath, right? Because your muscles need that oxygen, but you're also not supposed to like, strain your neck and do these things because you don't need those muscles. So you're trying to only use the muscles that are necessary for the action that you're trying to do. And so if I can keep my index finger open, like this gap open, it's all about this gap. It's really not so much, it's more about the prevention of the habit of clamping down on the stick. Because as soon as you do that, first of all, you're entirely too tense. Secondly, you don't like that's a waste of energy because like you're holding the stick too tight. But lastly, it changes your sound. I mean, it just does. For all of you guys, if you have discerning ears, and you can do this at a practice pad, you can do this on your drums, but try this on your ride cymbal. What I want you to do is I want you to do it my way, the same thing, right? And I want you to hit the drum a couple of times, right? You don't have to let it bounce or let it continue to bounce. Just like hit it and hit it open, as relaxed as possible. Try not to get in the way of the stick. The next thing I want you to do right after that is I want you to hold the stick as tightly as you can, and I want you to do the same thing. If you pay attention, that's not the same sound. The pitch is different. This goes for cymbals, drums, practice pads, everything. The amount of tension you add or take away from a drumstick directly affects the sound that you make whenever you play.
That's listen, I feel like because there's some people who this is confirming for, because there's someone who says that they've been holding their sticks for a while and thought that they were developing a bad technique holding it your way.
Interesting.
Yeah. And
so
no, go ahead.
So it really just depends on the technique, right? That's not French. If you know how French works, you're now sort of breaking some rules, but you have different ends. Like my thumb is up here. I'm in exactly the position I told you not to be in, but it's because I am limiting wrist motion. I'm not using my wrist. I'm using my fingers, right? And so when I use French, this is fine. As a matter of fact, holding my wrist, my hand like this helps me to limit the amount that I use my wrist because I'm supposed to be using my fingers. Right? So about technique is like there are variations to all of this. Like for example, a good way to, if you're trying to knock the crap out of your drums, like you're really trying to hit things super hard, you do not want to hit the way that I told you to hit. What I'm telling you to hit is for the way that I'm telling you to hit is for molar development, for the control of these rebounds to increase speed and dynamics, right?
Yeah.
But if you were on a rock gig and you said, okay, I can't control the stick like that, or every time I really try to lay into it, like there's something wrong, or it's the sticks are being ejected almost from the drums because of so much rebound, because you get what you put out of it, then what I would tell you is keep that gap open, but instead of holding the stick here, try to center your grip on your back fingers, because this tendon that your ring finger and your pinky finger share is the strongest tendon in your hand, right? And it redirects the energy in a different way that avoids the type of tension that you get whenever you hold it from your index finger and your thumb. So sometimes you'll see guys, especially like old jazz guys, when they're playing, like Buddy Rich did that a lot. They'll hold the sticks and you kind of see this guy here, but it's because they're holding it with their back fingers. This is also a very big Tony Williams thing. You know, one of the great jazz masters and fusion masters, from the back. Like, I am in complete control of the stick here, but I'm using my back fingers to like control the stick. And so now I'm doing this with very little shock to my hand.
Right. I can see you reading the question, the one that says at the bottom that says how to build and practice proper finger technique. I feel like before you get into that answer, though, I feel like that's a great question that we can reserve for the Q&A, because we'll dive deep into that for the Q&A for sure.
So so when it comes to finger technique, and forgive me, I can tell you what I've done for sure. Especially since I know on my Instagram there is a video where I'm playing some groove with some friends, and like you can see my fingers like whipping on the ride cymbal. I think that's interesting, but I could also do that the way that I'm about to show you, right? So that was a very purposeful decision because I didn't want accents. Whenever you deal with the molar stroke, like, I'm not sure how many of you guys paid attention, but if I'm generating these strokes and using the rebound to do it, there's always going to be a louder note. That initial note is always going to be louder. Same thing with the doing it this way. Right? And I know that it seems like, for people that don't really get it, that my fingers are doing some work, right? You see like, what's happening? I know I see your fingers moving up and down. It's just that they're following the stick. They're not generating notes. They're just attached to the stick. So if I let the stick go, this is what it feels like in my hand. There's no stick to push my fingers up and down, so it's a lot flatter. But do you see what I mean? If I'm not getting in the way, the stick does its own thing. And it's just about timing the different parts of that stroke. Now I'm altering it, right? Because I'm stopping the stick at every single step. This is what I feel, if anybody's old enough to remember the old Jim Chapin video that I learned the molar stroke from, or one of the things that, because so many people have taught it, so many brilliant people have had different points of view about it. But so you have that initial stroke, then you let the stick fall, and you can let it fall again. But this, whatever your stroke, the last stroke is followed by something called the upstroke, or accompanied by something called the upstroke. It's that this part of the wax off, movement where you're doing that part. That's what's happening, where you're hijacking this motion to get the stick back up into the last note of the series. So this motion is giving you a note. It's very soft, but if I were on the drum, you'd hear it. But for everyone that gets this wrong or may not know about it, the thing that I see the most, the biggest misunderstanding about that particular stroke is that when everyone tries to do it, they sort of start here. And then what happens is they come down and then they lift the stick up. Right? So the way that I think about it is that the plane that the stick is on is already set. And if the tip of the stick is moving up, you've already failed. Because the goal is to get the stick back into the up position. So as the butt of the stick comes up, the tip of the stick comes down. So don't do this and then lift the stick up and think that you've done an upstroke in the Moeller tradition. I know that I've seen some people that do marching band and drumline that their upstroke is what I just called wrong, but all of that stuff is context dependent. It depends on what you're doing, right? There are, a lot of rights and wrongs.
I feel like that's the most important thing, though. When you start talking about, because there's questions that people are asking, when you start talking about right or wrong, it's always within a certain context, depending on the goal and what you're trying to actually do, right?
Right.
Like you said, you didn't want accents, and so you're going to use the Moeller technique because yes, the first strike is louder than the rest, and then but it's not like it's giving you what you're looking for. But if you want a different sound and you're going for a different thing, you might use fingers and turn your hands up and do a different thing. So I think it boils down to learning these skills, these different techniques, and then using them to create art, using them to achieve a goal that you have set for yourself. And so things are only right and wrong depending on the context.
Right. So guys, so just what he said, everything that I'm saying is talking about Moeller. It's not talking about like anything else. So if you're not talking about I'm not talking about fingers. I'm not talking about French. I'm not talking about like German grip or like, it's just about Moeller. So I get the confusion, but they're like different techniques have different ends, right? Yeah. So,
that's that.
Yeah. So this is important because I know that most of you guys know your paradiddles. But what I see is whenever you play paradiddles, I see a very like that's not wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. Because you can get moderately, even I can get moderately like quick with this, I guess, right? Like all the dynamics are where they're supposed to be, the accents are coming up, you could, do your double paradiddles. But in my opinion, even looking at like me from the monitor, it just looks like my wrists are sort of stiff and stilted. And what happens if I want to move around the drum set? I think that Moeller and disguising those big motions in things like paradiddles. See how there's more movement now? But yeah, the Moeller stroke is a lot shorter because it's a lot faster. But now I have the Moeller stroke hidden in the paradiddle. And I could tell you the anatomy of that, right? So I could think about that as like downstroke, upstroke, and then to like rebounds. And if I do this right, if I want to be extremely technical, there's a little bit of squeeze here with my right hand to quit those notes because I have to play that up first, right, left, right, right. Then I let the rebound do the rest with the diddle. And so instead of thinking about it as right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left, I'm breaking down the motions of what it's supposed to be. Once I internalize those motions, the thing kind of plays itself. You can see my fingers sort of whip up and down because it's pushed by the stick, just like when I was doing this. And that's how the Moeller kind of like just really helps me out. And it doesn't matter if you're doing that or flam taps, flammed accents, whatever rudiment you want to throw, right? It's once you understand the dance of it, where the arm comes up, how many rebounds there are, when does the upstroke occur, and then
Right.
get those motions baked into your body, these things really play themselves.
So quick question, Jonathan. How would you recommend that they practice this type of thing? Like, how specifically does that work?
There are two ways. The first is if you're having issue with, so the structure of the motion of paradiddles, right, is up, so down, downstrokes start up. So down, up, tap, tap. Down, up, tap, tap, down, up, tap, tap, down, up, tap, tap, down, up, tap, tap, down, tap, tap, up, down, tap, tap, up, down, tap, tap, up. So now I've just isolated one side.
Everybody do that along with him. I'm doing it with him right now.
Cool. Tap, tap, up, down, tap, tap, up, down, tap, tap, up, down, tap, tap, up. You can do this in unison. Down, tap, tap, up, down, tap, tap, up, because, you know, most of us are right hand dominant. So whatever your weak hand is, if you do things in unison, your strong hand can help that weak hand along. Down, tap, tap, up, down, tap, tap, up. And then it's about understanding the dance. It's down, up, tap, tap, down, up, tap, tap, down, up, tap, tap, down, up, tap, tap. So notice that
That's you turning it into paradiddles now, right?
Correct. Right? So, and you just do this super slowly until you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like, because at first you're going to feel like you're in water or mud. And it's a while for your body to really behave the way that you want it to. But for the clarity, especially with the command of getting those accents as high as you want, you want to know how much room you have and how long that takes.
Right.
And hopefully you guys can see.
No, we can see
the wax on of that, right?
Yeah. So for sure.
Absolutely. Travis Barker definitely looks like that. And is how much he uses paradiddle combinations in his solos. It's really, really easy to see. That's a great catch.
Yep. And so how are we building on these?
So there are two things that you guys should do if you're really interested in a molar. And I recommend working on two versions of it. The first one is the one that I use the most, the ones that we should all use, and it's called the molar pump. And the molar pump is, for me, how you get consistent, accented, unaccented notes, especially when it comes to playing the hi-hats when you're playing pocket, right? One of the most annoying things to me, unless it's like trap, drum and bass, that sound in those styles of music, oftentimes the hi-hats are super consistent with no accents.
Right.
But if you're playing a rootsy style of music, anything that's based from blues, R&B, soul, funk, you're going to need the dimensions of playing accent on accent, accent on accent, right?
Right.
So that is just alternating up, so downstroke, upstroke. And remember, when you play your upstroke, you want your tip to go down and the butt of your stick to come up, right? This is, again, the biggest mistake I see with most people when they approach the molar technique. So, because this is so important, I want to at least do this for a few seconds, right? So, if you guys can do this with me, and if you feel confident about this, then do it with your non-dominant hand, right? Because I promise you're probably not working on that enough anyway. Fair?
Fair. It's fair for me. That's for sure.
All right. So let's do this super slow. So this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if this is too fast for you, for my super beginners, do it in halftime, right? You could go 1 and just do like that, 2, 3, 4. There's always a way to play along if you feel stuck or if your body isn't doing it the way that you want it to. So I apologize. This is it for real. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, for those of you that are a little bit more experienced, we're going to play a game. So we're going to start to subdivide or change subdivisions, right? We're in quarter notes here. And hopefully you guys know your subdivisions, right? So we have quarter notes, eighth notes, 16th notes, 32nd notes. I know I skipped some, right? But that's what we're going to try to do. So we're going to start with eighth notes, where we're going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And again, for my experienced people, do it with your non-dominant hand. For me, obviously that's my left hand. So it always helps me if I have any other teachers in the room, especially with young kids. I tend to mirror them at first versus playing across. I explain to them what I'm doing because they don't know their rights from their lefts most of the time at the beginning anyway. So I get a little bit of extra practice with my left. They get to see what I'm doing. Everybody's happy. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And you might, if you're not used to using your non-dominant hand like this, you might already be sore. So if you are sore, stay here because we're about to go to 16th notes. So 16th notes from here is 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a... Notice how the motion in my left hand got a lot smaller. I don't have time to move my whole shoulder anymore. The more you internalize these motions, the more efficient you're going to be with them. So you don't have to do all the wax on and wax off. Sometimes you can do a wah on and wah off. Sorry for the dad humor. 2, 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E. So I just did the math. I'm not fast enough to do it at 30-second notes at this tempo, which is at 72 beats per minute, right? Because that would put me at 16th notes at 280 something, right? Can't do it. So, but maybe what I can do is 16th note triplets. Let me know if you guys know what 16th note triplets are. 2, 3, 4 in the comments, please, because I will stop and explain, and I'll explain how to count them or how I count them because I know everybody's different. By the way, doing things like this, practicing it to a metronome, counting out loud, which I was doing before, I started talking, all of this stuff is a great way to practice and improve on your time. If you guys feel like, oh, my time sucks, or I want to get better at pocket, practicing really simple exercises while you're concentrating on the metronome and counting out loud is a great way to build your internal clock.
We got people saying yes, they know what 16th note triplets are.
Okay, so here we go. If I can do it, we're about to find out. So it's going to sound weird because it's going to have a 2 accent thing. Let's be honest. How many people kept up? Which is why I had you guys do it on your non-dominant side, right? We have to play so many notes on our right, and we always neglect just because out of fear, out of like we know we're gonna suck, so we don't do it. But trust me, this is how we get better. If you're trying to get faster, oftentimes your non-dominant hand is the culprit. It's the thing that can't do like up to what your right hand can do. Like, listen, I get it. It's not that like I'm not uneven with my hand. Like my threshold for my right hand is way higher than it is with my left, but I constantly work on my left in order to bring it up, and it slowly over the years has happened, right? So be easy on yourself. This is not this is a lifelong kind of journey.
I definitely see what you just showed us as something that definitely got to add, because I'm not gonna lie to you, when it got to those 16th note triplets, I was able to hang for a little while, but then that forearm starts to burn like it's nobody's business. You know, Marlon Flowers, he just typed in that he stopped at 16th notes. His left, his you know, it just is what it is. But I see how this right here alone extremely beneficial for everything else that we're trying to play and everything else that we're going to go over tonight. But I'm already like, just like you did last time, bro. Keep going. I'm gonna let you do your thing.
Cool. So hopefully everyone that stuck with me understands why I had to start at the beginning, because I can't just because I can't just like show off and say, well, we're going to do this. Everybody ready? Let's go. Right. It's better to know where it starts so that you can just be where you are. And no shame. If you couldn't keep up, cool. Chances are you haven't been doing this for as long as I have. You'll get there. Most of you, some of you will probably outpace me. And I want you to. I want you guys to post stuff that makes me want to practice. That just is what it is. But here's the thing. First, one more thing with the hands as far as molar technique, and then we're going to talk about the feet, because molar doesn't go away whenever we just talk about the hands. So I know a lot of you guys saw me maybe that's slow. Give me a second. Let's see here. That's still molar. It's just so going back to the 3 note, where it's downstroke, rebound, upstroke. You can do that in series. So up, rebound, sorry, down, rebound, up, down, rebound, up. That's what that was. So eventually this starts to play itself. So the molar, the 3-note molar, which is the thing that I need to go through because I told you about the pump. The 3-note molar adds a note in between the up and the down and the upstroke, right? So I have to back up a second. So it goes down, and then you rebound. I know it's not actually rebounding. I'm controlling it, but I have to break it down somehow, right? So downstroke, let it bounce, upstroke. Downstroke, let it bounce, upstroke. downstroke, let it bounce, upstroke. I did a tap instead of an upstroke. That happens sometimes. Wires get crossed. You guys forgive me, right? Downstroke, rebound, upstroke. So instead of hearing that accent, the 2 accent like earlier, now we have 3s. This one takes a while. I can't lie to you. This took me years. I wasn't just like, okay, because this is what's going to happen, because it happened with me. You're going to do it. And all of your bad habits, you're going to help your notes along by playing them with your wrist, right? And please don't. Oftentimes that happens with just playing too fast, too soon. You want to feel like you're just doing one motion. And that one motion is just the throwing of the stick, that wax on, wax off thing, right? Because if you can do that, and you can stay relaxed. And if you can stay relaxed, guess what? There's no burn. Well, that's how I knew that's like, okay, this is a little bit too fast. And once you start becoming more muscular with it, that's where the burn starts. So this is all of this technique. You could think about it as a way to increase your endurance and to avoid fatigue, right? Because you are actively participating less with the motion of the stick. So down, let it bounce, upstroke. Down, let it bounce, upstroke. Down, let it bounce, upstroke. Don't even worry about connecting the dots, right? What you want to do is you want to get comfortable with the order of the types of motions you're doing. Don't worry about this. This was my mistake. Whenever I was trying to do it, I feel like the first time I saw this in a solo context, I think it was Steve Smith in a Drummers Collective performance or something. And he played traditional, which is one of the reasons why I learned how to do it. You know, I still don't really play traditional all that much, but I really wanted to learn it because I thought it looked so cool. Anybody play traditional grip for the record? I should address you if you do, because emotions are a little bit different with traditional, and I'm sorry for not saying something earlier. Answer me in the chat, please. Does anybody here play traditional grip?
Yeah, I'm giving about 3 seconds because it's a slight delay that they have on. So still, cool. Monster says he does.
If there is one person, hey, how you doing? So traditional grip is a lateral throw versus the up and down thing. So now I have to borrow some other people's stuff because I love JoJo. So JoJo describes it as a clock. For people that have seen this is a refresher. If you want to align how your traditional grip is supposed to move, you're going to move from, so you start here at the 8 o'clock position. You throw your whole hand over so that your thumb is facing down over the stick. So that puts you at 6. You're going to come over the drum like this, and then you're going to fall down back to the 8 o'clock position. What that is teaching you is this rotation. I chose the wrong angle here. This rotation of just getting the stick, the grip to do this. And this is also helpful because it shows you how the stick is supposed to kind of turn in your hand. If you could just kind of keep this guy cradled where it's supposed to. And so as you throw outward and let the stick bounce, then it's something very similar. This is your upstroke over here in this position. Throw, bounce, up. This is what it looks like from the side. And again, for me, I just feel like I'm just throwing the stick back and forth. So because it's a different motion, as you add it with the right hand, you have to get used to balancing what it feels like to do this on one side and that on the other. So
Nice.
I can, yeah. So that's how you deal with the traditional grip side.
So Still Monster says sick. He's totally trying this. And so we got one guy's requesting that they want to hear you play the drum set.
Okay. I mean, that's fair, right? You're here for a masterclass for me to play. I guess I should do that a little bit, but I do want to say that like my Instagram exists. I do it on YouTube and I have records, right? So seeing me play is the thing that you can always do on your own time. And it's not something that you can like, I would never take a lesson and someone say, hey, I just want to watch you play for 30 minutes because I would feel like that would be a waste of time. Right. So I will play for you before the end of it. Let me get through this segment, but just maybe think about what I could answer for you if you have questions.
There you go.
Is that fair? So, because yeah, again, like me playing is what I do like 4 to 6 days a week. So it's not, that's not helpful, but it took me forever to kind of work out the kinks of what I'm showing you. And maybe you're already better than this better at this than me. And that's what it is. But you know, I don't want to, I'm not a mind reader. So, blah, blah, blah. All right. So one final thing with the molar technique with my hands. So when it comes to playing this guy, just alternating, what I want to do eventually is I want to merge the molar pump with the 3-note thing, right? The first molar stroke that I taught with what I just showed you. So the 2-note, up, down, up, is down, up, and this guy. And so, and I'm going to use this rhythm again in this clinic. So most of you guys know this rhythm, right? That's pretty easy.
Like the James Bond?
Yeah, but yeah,
or 007 Goldeneye.
That's out, but maybe like it almost sounds like Mission Impossible. But I think Mission Impossible is in 5.
Yeah, there's one more. There's one more. Yeah.
And so this is in 4/4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. So I'm gonna make the molar play. So I want to play those, and I'm gonna fill in the accents with the molar stroke and the molar pump. So it's going to look like this. Question. When do you know when to stop while practicing your molar? Do you continue while your forearms are burning? So you may not have heard me say this before, but your forearms shouldn't be burning. This is a technique to avoid fatigue. I would, if your forearms are burning, I would go back to the beginning just to make sure that whenever you play your molar stroke, that you aren't interfering with the stick when it comes to the amount of rebounds that you're getting. So whenever these notes happen, these notes should be automatic, right? There is no forearm involvement because I'm not doing this, right? I'm not playing constant downstrokes by picking up and lifting the stick from my wrist, right? All of those notes are generated purely from bounce or purely from rebound. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So,
so we have someone requesting that you play that exercise that you were just playing slightly slower.
Absolutely. So, so this is a shell of the rhythm. Da 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 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and if you want to quantify it, it's the 3-note molar thing, down, up, tap 4 times. 2 molar pumps, that's down, up. So all the way through handheld, down, tap, up, down, tap, up, down, tap, up, down, tap, up, down, up, down, up. It's easier if you think about them in chunks of information. So you have 3-note cells or 3-note little fragments, right? That down, tap, or down, rebound, up is that first little idea. You do that 4 times, then you do that down, up twice. That's how you get that sound. That's the order of the molar things. And you can rearrange those, right? So if you get bored and you just want to play, for all of you guys that just want to play or just want to, like, you know, you can practice improvising and just moving those things around. So as I said, it's down, up, tap, or the 3 thing 4 times. That's that 3 group 4 times, and then the 2 thing twice. But what happens if you're just feeling like, I don't care to do that? I just want to go. I just want to play. So move it around. And so now I'm getting 5-note clusters because I'm going. So 2, 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3, or 1 2 1 2 1 2 3, and then like I'm sneaking 4s in there. I know, even though I didn't talk about it because it's hard to not do things that you've done for such a long time.
Right.
But you can sit down and just like practice this improvising with those 2.
And someone asked a question if you can give an example orchestrating the molar technique that you're showing them right now around the kit.
Yes, absolutely. So let's talk about so the easiest one to do is the alternating thing, right? Let's say, let me just take for granted that you can do this already. Right? So let's say that you want to practice just moving those first 2 notes around, right? Or even just moving singles around the drum set at all. Could you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yo, that's a nice way to. So because there's like a bunch of questions coming in, and I know that like we can spend the next hour talking just about this, and we will answer these questions in the Q&A for sure. But I have one last question about this before we move on, and that is simply this: how would you orchestrate this into your practice routine and what specific things that would you do in that practice routine as you're practicing this? Would you just practice it in a groove like that, or would you practice it specifically like as rudiments moving around, or not, or would you practice it as single strokes? And how would you make that work in a practice routine? And what would be that prescription?
So the last thing is what I wanted to talk about when I was playing. And it's going to lead me into foot stuff. Mm-hmm. So, but if you have a problem, like this is one of my favorite exercises. That unison thing between my hands is one of my favorite exercises to play, because not only does it work out your hands, but it allows you to kind of tidy up your notes, like when you're playing pocket. So let me show you kind of what I mean. I'm going to start really simple and then expound from there. I'm going to play 16th notes between my hi-hat and my snare drum. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to keep the backbeat. So like between my hi-hat and my snare drum, just in constant 16th notes. And then I'm going to improvise. Well, let's not improvise. Let's use the rhythm from the Moeller idea. Da, ba, 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 ba. And just to give us something that's familiar, right? So the goal is to get all of these notes nice and neat and everything happening at the exact same time. This is hard. So it's not even going to be exactly clean for me. But as you get better at it and as you get more control of your dynamics, you're going to notice a cleanliness when it comes to playing ghost notes and groove in your playing. Also, you know, faster hands. So here we go. So I'm playing. Oh, hold on one second. I forgot to do this. I mute it. I am playing a condensed type of Moeller pump where it's much smaller, which is how I can get those smaller notes and just like popping it up higher on beats 2 and 4. Do that with the songs. Do that with the tracks. Do that with, like, just improvise on the kick drum. But, you know, you want to try to maintain that same relaxation that I was talking about before, while you're just alternating with the Moeller pump with both hands. So that is one exercise that I've used over the years, just to kind of, as a warm-up, to just address a bunch of different things.
For sure. Now you said this leads into the foot situation?
Yes, because one of the things that was on the docket to talk about today was foot speed.
Yes.
So I think I'm about to hurt somebody's feelings. This isn't specifically Moeller technique tonight. Well, the thing about Moeller for me is I use it a lot.
Yes.
So here's an example, real fast. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
There's a long question. Can you read that for me?
Yeah, no, that's the one it's talking. He's talking about he has a shooting hand pain after shows, which he never gets in practice, and he thinks it's his technique. And he's just wondering about that.
Okay. Unfortunately, I'm not a doctor, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, before you go deep into that, because I mean, yeah, but those are things that you definitely want to see a doctor about.
Like I can't prescribe anything. I know that when I was about 26, I had a short bout with tendonitis, which made me readdress a lot of the things that I was talking about today, right? And I feel like without readdressing those issues, I may not be playing drums at the capacity I was playing now, right? So I come from a place of experience when I mean that if you take your technique seriously, you can avoid injury. Like if I look at some of my old videos, 2012, 2011, some of the stuff that like before I started posting, like I could see how tight I was. I can see like all of that, me clamping down. So I really had to pay closer attention and be extremely diligent about my hands and where the force was going.
Yeah. And that we have like lots of questions coming in really fast. And Jonathan, I don't want you to feel like you need to answer like all of them as they come in like that. That's why we're gonna have the Q&A portion for. And so I know that you were at the foot speed section of it. I don't want it to get too far distracted by the questions. That's
fair enough. So patterns, both feet. I don't know what you mean by both feet. And I also don't know what you mean by patterns, right?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that there's just a lot of stuff coming in, and it's like slightly delayed, so maybe about something in the past, and we'll be able to get more context during the Q&A.
Right. So my mom told me when something starts to hurt, stop it. There's a difference between pain and injury. I don't know what that is, and I don't know what that looks like for you. Like, I'm not a doctor, but I know that there is a difference between pain and injury. Like discomfort, like any sign of discomfort isn't a sign for you to stop. But on that same token, you have to be careful that you're not doing yourself damage. So if you're not paying attention, if you know where your thresholds are, I mean, the best thing that you can do whenever you start to feel uncomfortable, unusually uncomfortable, is to stop, is to take a break. And sometimes that is for an hour, sometimes that's for the day, sometimes that's for a week. Because if you instantly like start playing more than you ever have, and you're playing way like more than your body is ready for, then taking a break is probably the best thing that you can possibly do to avoid injury. But pain and injury aren't the same thing.
Yep. So let's get back to the foot speed work that you were just showing them.
So I'm not a double bass guy. I'm sorry to like break if that's disappointing to you. Like I am working on double bass right now, but I am not in any type of shape to teach it. So that's not my bag.
Yeah.
All right. So bossa, whoever said bossa is exactly right. So the way that I approach and the way that I've come to approach bass drum speed, especially when it comes to double strokes, is working on bossa, because it ticks a couple of boxes, right? That whole thing that I was doing wasn't just about my kick drum. Like, as much as we want to say it, like it's everything. It's the whole picture. But I think that because it's so reliant on the kick drum, it's useful. So how does Moeller, and how do I look at Moeller when it comes to doing bossa? If I can come down to camera 3. So for me, when I'm working on bossa, this is what my foot looks like. That is upstroke, and my upstroke looks like this. I'm rolling up the pedal, right? This is like constant relief stuff. Release stuff. Up, and then down. And notice that when I hit, the bass drum beater doesn't stay on the kick drum. It does not do this. Because with bossa, it's about open sounds. Gagoon, 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 gagoon. And so you want that kick drum beater to come away from the head on that downstroke. Some people call this heel toe. Not the biggest fan of that name because I am not like changing my foot's relationship to the pedal in a meaningful way, right? It's sort of staying kind of where it is, but I'm dancing from the ball of my foot. So from pivoting from the ball of my foot rolls up the pedal, right? And then at the crest of it, it allows the beater to come back. And then I come down, back down, but I still come down ball of my foot first. I'm not coming back down on my heel, right? So everything is being pivoted from the ball of my foot. Now, if you get good at this, you don't have, it's not just about double strokes, right? It's not just like about that. Sorry, that was I forgot to turn my shotgun on. But it can be just a bunch of notes in a row.
Yeah, that's pretty insane.
Which can be used to play, I mean, metal. I've faked my way into blast beat that way.
So wait, are you literally saying that you have taken the molar technique and the molar idea that is played on hands and use it to increase your foot speed?
Correct.
Wow, because it does look, someone just mentioned in the comments, and I do agree that it looks really relaxed. Now, I did not grow up playing heel toe or heel toe at all. That's not, like, I saw it. That's not what we did. We played toe up easily. And I know a lot of people who play toe up and can control it also with the bossa. So it is like, at a certain extent, is what you're comfortable with, because they don't choke the kick drum either with their toe up. But the way that you did that was very appealing because of how relaxed your foot looked and how at ease everything. How do we practice that?
So the first thing that you want to do is exactly like the molar stroke. You don't want to worry about the sound. You want to worry about the motion. Once you get the motion right, it'll play itself. I promise you. So there are a couple of different ways. I kind of learned this backwards. I think that doing like sliding up the pedal and then smacking down that's backwards. That's giving you the bossa sound, is giving you ka-koom, ka-koom, and landing you with that strong note, right?
Yeah.
But if you're trying to play and you're trying to get the strong note to line up with the beat, you actually have to play your downstroke first. So let me show you what that looks like. So the downstroke is the normal note that you guys, if you play heel down, it's what you think it is, right? So you're just here. But instead of kind of keeping because this is sort of the old way of playing, or a lot of you guys' old way of playing.
Single strokes between the kick and the snare. I love it.
So, yeah, in order to do that, I switch back to what I'm comfortable with, which is that constant release molar thing. So
yeah, you're doing this mix of all of it, right? Like I'm watching your foot, and you started off heel up, and then you you went to heel down when you played your first triplet, and then you kind of like started going back and forth between the two.
Yep. And it depends on the sound that I want, because remember, technique is context dependent. Every time you change techniques, you're going to change the sound that you create. So if I want that like super punchy, super powerful kick drum sound, I'm gonna bury the beater, because that's where that sound comes from.
So I get it. The thing that I'm really curious to know though, is how do we practice that, getting that type of vibe? Like that's something to practice for sure.
Absolutely. So away from the pedal, what you can do is, if I have enough room here, away from the pedal is just this. Start by rocking your foot back and forth, right? And you really want to feel the stretch at both ends of that motion, right? So you bring your heel all the way and you feel that squeeze back in your calf, right? And then you lift that toe all the way and you feel it in your shin. You just rock back and forth. You're not trying to smack the floor. Just extend to the edges of your range of motion. This is a good stretch anyway, no matter how what you do with your technique, right? This is a nice way to warm up and increase bass drum control. But we're going to take this motion and put it on the kick drum. So this is not just an exercise. This is how I was playing those singles. So you take this guy, and I know it's not the same, but it kind of is, right? Except I'm going to start in a heel up position. So I'm going to do this guy and let my note fall. But instead of just dropping my foot, I want to imagine that I'm rocking down like I'm trying to sneak, like I'm a ninja, like I'm sneaking down the pedal from this position, right? So it doesn't seem like any power is really getting transferred. That's fine. What we want is that ease. We want that smoothness that you guys saw in my playing, right? So we want to like just roll from the heel up position, roll down the pedal, right? Let the beater come all the way back, and then roll all the way back up the pedal until you are back in heel up position. Those are the only two steps for this. Here, up, and then from the down position, back, heel up. And so you can think about it like that too. You can think about alternating heel up and heel down strokes, if that helps. So you're playing one heel down stroke and then one heel up stroke. But you're using that heel down stroke to propel that heel up. So you're like this.
Does your spring tension matter at all during this?
Absolutely. It can definitely work against you if it's too tight. I usually, oh no, what happened to my camera? I'll talk from here. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
I usually use a medium tension when it comes to spring tension. This is something that if it's so loose that there's no play, that this is not really going to work for you. Mm-hmm. If it's too tight, you're really going to feel it on the heel down part, right?
Got you.
So feel around and experiment with your spring tension, because for those guys that have never adjusted your spring tension, you're doing yourself a disservice. Like, please experiment with your spring tension and put some hours into playing it so that you can like figure out what is right for you.
Got you. And so I guess that's incredible technique that needs to be
hold
practiced.
On. Can you hold for 1 second?
Yeah, it looks like your camera may have died. You may need to change.
Yeah, I'm about to fix that. Can you just give me 2 seconds?
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Everybody in the chat, man, if you guys leave me a comment, let me know how you guys are enjoying this live stream, this drum clinic. If you're getting some value out of it, if you are learning anything new, if you are seeing things from a new perspective, please leave me a comment in the chat. I'm gonna give you guys a few seconds because I know there's a little delay, but we want to see how much value you guys are getting. Trust me, the Q&A portion is coming up. I know that Jonathan has a few more things. We've been on the live stream for about 90 minutes now, and so we're not going to hold you guys forever, but we definitely have some more value that we want to bring your way as Jonathan gets set up. So let me know. James Hall says he's loving it, learning a lot, looking forward to taking a private with him. Oh, listen, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Kenneth says great stream. Ajit Gill says this is mega. Love it. Definitely some new perspectives from Jordan Johnson. So that's pretty cool, man. But like Jonathan, we have been on for 90 minutes. I know I don't want to keep everybody for forever, but yeah, man, we're gonna jump it back in to where you at and see what else you have for us.
Fair enough. Is there any other
real quick? We got Joseph. He says he's learning a tons, even though he's familiar with Molar. Prince says he's learning a lot. There's more coming in. He says well, let me go to this one. He says, I'm writing down a lot of stuff. Very interesting. It's almost 3 a.m. in Germany now, so he don't know how much longer he could stay. All right, man, we appreciate you for being here from Germany, man. If you hold on just a little longer, we got a special offer for you that you really don't want to miss. Jordan says he got to book some private lessons with John to get some direct feedback. He says, we'll talk about that in a second too, Jordan. Just hang on. We're not too far away, but it looks like you're floating on the pedal. He says, confirmed what I was working on with my foot. So that's dope. Watching from the Philippines, learning a lot. That's what's up, fam. Let's see. Ed saying, yes, thank you, Jonathan. Can't wait to try these techniques. Jovan says, keep going.
Hey, Jovan. So there are a couple of like low-key ninjas in in the chat. So
yeah,
I appreciate all of you guys being here.
There's a lot of people who are enjoying it, and we're definitely getting a lot. And yeah, I'm just trying to be cognizant of your time and everybody else's time at that as well. So
okay,
but no, what else you got on the docket? I mean, I'm not saying to skip past whatever you have left on the foot technique. I know you got to finish that out, but
right. So that everything that I said for the hands applies from the foot. And just to be clear, even the 3-note thing, and this is not something. Please, this is something that I'm still working on. So be kind. But you could also do 3 sets of like accents in your foot too, like continually, just by dissecting it the same way. So if you again follow me to camera 3, I will talk you through this guy here. And so if you guys remember the down, tap, up, that's what I'm going to simulate, but on the kick drum. So so you start with that stroke here. You kind of let the spring tension do its thing, or think about it as a heel down stroke, right? But you're trying to float with the tension, with the spring of the kick drum. So it'll start like this here, and then you're going to play up, just a heel down note, but you're not going to roll up the pedal here, right? Because you want to stay in this position for a second. So you're going to go heel up, heel down, and then this next one is going to be our upstroke. So the heel down that follows through back to the beginning. So 1 here, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, like this. 1, 2. I know this probably feels super weird, and it doesn't matter if you actually don't touch the kick drum. The most important thing is getting the motion right. 1, 2, 3. And so when you put that together, you can just sit down and go. That's what that looks like. Let me do it without my shotgun because I keep forgetting to turn the thing off. So, molar stroke, foot in the foot.
Pocket drummer says awesome.
Thank you. All right, so
says we needed this, so we can. Yeah, it's looking good.
So building flow is the next thing, and a lot of people ask me, "What in the world are you doing?" Because I play a lot of notes, especially on Instagram. So when it comes to playing flow, or as I talk, can you guys give me your own opinions on like what you do to build flow, or how you think about flow whenever you're just playing around the drums, especially when it comes to like chops and putting patterns together? And I will respond in real time. Cool. So I started with a few patterns that I really tried to get super well. All of those patterns are now old now because I'm an old guy. So I try my best to like do different things with them, and we can get into different things if you take lessons with me. I really don't have the time to go super, super deep into everything that I do. But this is something that I have done. So let's take something that you guys might know. Everybody that I'm assuming everybody is familiar with 16th note triplets because you guys said that earlier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a 16th note triplet chop. An illusion that I like to use, and this is a little bit more intermediate, so please forgive me. I will explain everything if you have a question. But things seem to float better over time, like in 4/4, if they're not in 4/4. The dirty secret about like floating over the measures or the form is like if you learn how to keep up with phrases that don't necessarily fit inside the time signature that you're in, you get this like suspended feeling, you get this dissonant feeling where it just feels like you're kind of just playing, right? And sometimes, you know, that can be a really cool thing. That's definitely what I do, and I'm brought here to show you guys what I do. So I'm going to teach you one of the first ones that I ever learned. Let's see. I'm trying not to read too much. I can't.
I can read them
from here.
I can read them to you. Go ahead with your example though, if you're about to show them, and then I'll read you what you're saying.
Absolutely. So I'm going to teach you one that is, I feel like is really, really common. And then, or two that are really, really common, and then I'm going to mash them together. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a pattern that's in 5. And I'm going to show you how I phrase 5 in like a 4/4 thing. So
if you were playing a metronome earlier, we couldn't hear it either.
I know.
Okay,
it's fine.
Cool. Okay, cool.
So it comes from 2 parts. The first part is my early Buddy Rich influence. So getting into 6-stroke rolls, but trying to like extend them. This is one of the first things that I did when I started flowing and improvising, because I noticed that with like 6-stroke rolls, and the version of the 6-stroke roll that I'm using here puts the 2 singles on the beginning and the end. So the sticking for everyone, like most people should know it, is right, left, left, right, right, left. Right, left, left, right, right, left. And so let's call this our root. If anybody plays a chordal instrument and you play a C chord, right? Like that C, E, and G, right? But then you have things called extensions, and extensions change the color of the chord, right? And so what I do is I like to extend patterns with other patterns, right? And so I'll always take a root pattern, like the first pattern doesn't change, and then I'll extend it by adding something to the pattern. And it'll be a million things, but for this one, I'm going to stick fairly basic for now. So the first extension that I'm going to put on this root pattern is right, left, left. So a 6-note pattern here is going to become a 9-note pattern. So this turns into this. This is nothing revolutionary, right? So, but it's a great way to get your hands moving, because once you have 2 things, you have a root and you have an extension, you can start to alternate those 2 different ideas. You see what I mean? And then create longer phrases just based on interchanging those 2 things. So that was the first time, that was my first real understanding of using vocabulary to improvise. And I played it to death. I played it to absolute death. And sometimes doing the extension more than once. Extension number 2 is right, right, left. So it ends up being, which, you know, admittedly sounds jazzy. Don't shoot me. I play a lot of jazz. So, and this is sort of, again, me listening to Buddy Rich. This is sort of what inspired some of this stuff for me. That to me is where that language comes from. So that's sort of the first little thing, just to get the hands moving around the drum set. You take those two chunks, or one chunk, one root, right, left, left, right, right, left, and then those two extensions, and you improvise with just those pieces in that flow, in that 16th note triplet flow. No particular order here. It's purely creative, purely just like trying to get the hands to play those segments on command. Right?
You're looking at the chat. You're trying to see the comments. Yeah,
like I keep saying that I'm old.
Yeah, you keep saying you're old, and it's 60. He says he's 65.
Then you know what? To you specifically, I apologize, because I understand what that feeling is every time I see like a 10-year-old crush me on social media. That's the feeling. And it, you know, we try to get ego aside and say like everybody's different and all the stuff wasn't available even when I was 10, and the world is just what it is, right? So
yep. And
yeah.
I'm interested with the pattern that you showed, you know, as far as how you develop flow. You showed us in the jazz context how you began to use that, right? Mm-hmm. And so what I'm curious to know is in a context where you're playing like a regular funk groove or a rock groove, or if you were in a shed, like I seen you post recently, you were in a shed with some really good drummers. How would you use this pattern in a flow in 4/4 that feels kind of like more modern?
Okay. Good question. Good question.
Nice. I can't hear you.
I jumped the gun though, because there's one more little piece of there.
Okay.
I had in mind to show you.
Oh, go ahead, show us. Break it down.
Yeah, involve the bass drum double thing, right?
Yeah.
And interchange it with the thing that I was just doing, which is where I, you know, sort of lost the thread. But this is one of my favorite patterns to play. It is a Elvin Jones, again, it's a jazz lick. Surprise, surprise.
Yes.
But it came into my life from the one and only Dave Weckl. I've never met the guy, but I followed him a lot and read his books, and this is one of the patterns that he uses, and you can see in his playing if you pay attention. So the pattern is 9 notes. Right, left, left, kick, kick, right, left, kick, kick.
Right, left, left, kick, kick, right.
Yeah.
Left,
so so you can think about it in 2 chunks if you want. 3 notes, because we were just dealing with 3-note chunks a second ago. Right, left, left, right? We were doing that out of the right, left, left, right, right kick. Even the right, left, left is how you open the first pattern. So there's so many different like correlations and links between these patterns. They all, well, most of them started with right, left, left. So once you get comfortable with that move, you can always pivot from one thing to the next, right? So this one also starts with right, left, left. But the sixth part is right, kick, kick, right, left, kick, kick. So it's 6 notes. So it's right, left, left, kick, kick, right, left, kick, kick. That's exactly how I think about it. One part, part 2. Here's the whole pattern. So here's a pattern with time.
And I'm not going to sit here and act like I did not hear you splooshing your hi-hat while you were doing that. It's phenomenal. But go ahead.
I love that texture. That's a Keith Carlock thing. Like there's certain times where he
Yeah.
I love that. Anyways, so the final form of this pattern, because I promised you something in 5. The final form of this is flipping the pattern with the 6-note roll, 6-stroke roll. So I'll play that long is that 6-stroke roll at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just helps to kind of reset the thing. So you're just not going, you get these longer sets of like this longer texture. And you can play it twice if you want, but it just helps you kind of reset that movement of the kick drum. So there's less weight. I talk about weight as being like low end because that's the way that it hits. Like some things are like low, punchy, weighty sounding. So if you want things to be light and airy, avoid your kick drum, fellas. But just as a tip for creative control. So what I do here is the first note, the first thing, which is a 6-stroke roll, right, left, left, kick, kick, right, left, kick, kick. This is one of my favorite things, or used to be one of my favorite things to do. I don't think I do it that much these days, but I used to do it all the time. So this is a pattern, but slower. And it's in 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yep, you can hear that clearly. Super clean. It's really starting to sound like the flow that people see a lot on Instagram and drummers playing. Like sometimes we forget that the flow that we play, the things that we see on Instagram, whether you see Eric Moore playing it, whether you see Jonathan Green playing it, whether you see Sticks or what, like a lot of this is built around these patterns and these rudiments that they be getting. Whether they know them or not, whether they know they're playing rudiments or not, whether they know they're playing these patterns or not, this is really where it is. So I can see, Jonathan, now how what you started with in the beginning is all connecting all the way through. Mm-hmm. It's the freedom with the hands that the Moeller technique will give you if you practice it and actually master it. It's the freedom and the endurance that you'll have also with your foot and with your hands when you put it on your foot. Then when you start putting these patterns together, now you can put these patterns together because you
Right.
actually have what you need. That's incredible.
So this is kind of what the whole thing has been about, right? Because
Yes.
most people want to skip ahead. Hey, just play
Yeah.
drums. Hey, just do this. Show me the flash, right?
Yep,
And it's like
yep.
from exactly what you said, if it wasn't for the years that I've sat and really gotten certain technical things together, then that would tire me out. I could do
Yeah.
that I could probably do that for an hour. Just sit down
Yeah.
and just play that over and on repeat, and probably at that speed, just
Yeah.
because there is minimal involvement with like a
Effort.
muscular thing.
Yeah.
Like the sticks are doing all of the work, and my body is just letting the notes come out.
Yeah, big time. Jonathan asks, because I'm gonna ask this question for him because it is relevant to what we're talking about right now, which is, can you give the sticking that you did one more time?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is right, left, left, right, right, left. So that's one part. That's a 6-stroke roll. It's a variation of a 6-stroke roll. Right, left, left, right, right, left. A 6-note thing. And then the Dave Weckl, Elvin Jones pattern is right, left, left, kick, kick, right, left, kick, kick. Right. So think about those two things as being interchangeable. It didn't have to be in 5. I didn't have to go like, okay, I'm going to play this part and then that part and this part and then that part. I know what effect it gives me, and I know technically like where it's going to put me in the beat. But if I was just playing, I would just play each part whenever I wanted. So it's easy to put that in 4/4 just by rearranging the order of those, right? So here's an example of that. I'm not sure if you guys, if you Damani, have gone over like 3-3-2 phrasing.
Yeah, we've had live streams on a ton of stuff over the years, but like everybody here is not a DrumTrax premium subscriber.
Fair enough. Real fast phrasing. So if I'm thinking about it, instead of 16th note triplets, if I break it down into 8/8 notes, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 16th note triplets are 3 notes per that. So 1 triplet and triplet, 2 triplet and triplet, 3 triplet and triplet, 4 triplet and triplet, right? So 8 eighth notes. I'm thinking about eighth note phrases here. Yeah. So it's going to be a repeated pattern that takes 3 eighth notes to finish. Da 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 da. That's one chunk. That's going to repeat. That is the Dave Weckl / Elvin Jones thing, right? Da 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 da. Twice. So 3 twice. 3 3 2. The 2 is the 6-stroke roll thing because it's only 6 notes, right? Da 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 da. 4 triplet and triplet, or right left left right right left. If you're looking at the sticking. So I'm going to be playing the Dave Weckl Elvin Jones thing twice. That takes 3 eighth notes to do. And then I'm going to do the 6-stroke roll, which is 2 eighth notes, right? So that's what I mean by 3-3-2. It's a great way to organize these patterns to make sure that you're always playing in 4/4 so that you don't have to count, because there are only 3 ways that you can do it. You could do 3-3-2, 2-3-3, or 3-2-3. That's just taking those notes or those patterns and either playing the Elvin Jones Weckl thing twice at the beginning, twice at the end, or sandwiching the 6-stroke roll in the middle. So I'm going to show you that. So 3 3 2.
You did a little longer that time.
I did it, and I started later. I started earlier too, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm so used to improvising, so it's hard for me to be like, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, and just have it in it straight. Yeah, I
just
totally.
my
get
body
that.
just knows what to do,
Right,
and then just start playing.
Right.
But yeah, so once you understand those chunks or those pieces, eventually, hopefully, they start coming out on their own, right? You're not so invested on like, let me play the thing I practiced. Here it comes. Here it is again. See me, guys? You see me? You see me? You see that right there? That was dope, wasn't it? So.
Yeah. No, you don't want to do that. And that the idea obviously is to spend the time that it takes to master the concept, to not be in such a rush to get to the quicker speeds, because you'll always be sloppy. And you want to do the foundational work that it takes, man. So listen, that's crazy. And I think that I hope that everyone in the chat, first of all, if you're in the chat, and I know that some of it, especially when he got up to doing the stuff around the kit and orchestrating around the kit, obviously you're not going to like learn and master it in one lesson, in one go around, in one master class. But I hope that the concept has gotten through. And so that's what I'm wondering. Did you guys understand the concept of taking a pattern and organizing that pattern in a way that you can play it in time, and then putting it in different subdivisions and practicing it that way? If you understood the concept, drop a yes in the chat. Tell me that you understood, because we want to make sure that you guys are actually getting it and getting some value from it. So, and I don't want to cut you short, Jonathan, but do you have any more on the docket?
Man, so
I'm sure you have like 17 things on the docket.
I could stay here all night to everyone's chagrin. So
this is definitely, let me say this. I do have to say this, Jonathan. This is one of the main reasons why I wanted to, as I started working with Jonathan and we were having these conversations about the things that we're doing right now, and I realized how much you have to give, and how open and willing and freely you give it. It's incredible. And so that the thing that I'm trying to do and trying to help everyone understand is that what Jonathan is showing you guys and what he is breaking down is literally the path to the goal, right? Because we all want faster hands, we all want faster feet, we all want to be able to have more flow, and sometimes the path there is not as appealing as you thought. But that's the reason that you haven't been able to get to where you're trying to go, is because you haven't actually been following the path that you actually need to take, depending on where you are in your drumming. And I know that if I let Jonathan, he will sit here and teach you guys till tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I'll give you everything. I will give you everything. You guys want to know how I take the same types of structural stuff and apply it to like how I work on independence between my right and my left hand, because my gosh, we haven't even talked about hand speed, and so much of it is me practicing ostinatos with one hand or another, and practicing other rhythms with the other hand, and then switching. I mean, that's nowhere in here, but there's such a main thing about what I do.
So then let's do this. This is what we're gonna do. Let's do this. We'll get into the Q&A so that people can ask their questions, because I know you thrive when people ask you questions and you're able to answer them. But before we do, I want to just re-go over for you guys one last time, because I at the end of the day, here's the thing that I'm trying to avoid. I'm trying to avoid you guys coming here, learning all these things, getting all these tips, and walking away and it just being for naught. Like, you guys are just, it was a cool experience. You got to see Jonathan, but when you leave, you can't apply it. You don't really remember. You can't figure out what to do from there. So I want to go over this one last time before we get into the Q&A. And you definitely have to stick around for the Q&A, because we're going to answer your questions. I told you at the beginning of this live, there's 5 reasons that drummers struggle to get better at the drums. And with all the amazing concepts Jonathan taught you, I don't want you to leave, like I said, and not get everything down. So I'm gonna quickly go over these 5 things that'll keep you from getting better. And like I promised in the beginning, I'll give you a solution that I think will really help solve all of this for you. So let's get into that really quickly. I'm gonna bring this up one more time. Again, you may not know what you want to be better at, or you may think that you're trying to get better at this, but don't know that there's a line, just like Jonathan was showing us today, there's a line of skills that you are missing and you need to acquire so that you can actually get to where you're trying to go. That's one of the main reasons that drummers struggle, right? And then, of course, the shiny object syndrome. We've had drummers in here, and some of a couple of the trolls. Now, the majority of you guys have been amazing, and but it's easy for us as drummers to want to jump from subject to subject to subject to subject, instead of actually getting the most out of a concept, so that you can actually become a better drummer from mastering a concept. And Jonathan is, like I said, one of the most gifted people that I have seen, who can squeeze every ounce of juice out of a concept to get you to where you're trying to go. And of course, number 3, you know what you want to be better at, but you don't know how to get there. You see the goal, you see what it is that you want to do. You're like, man, that's what I want to do, but you have no idea what path to take. And you're just lost. Like, you may know you're trying to get to New York, but you have no idea is east, or you have no idea which way is north, and it just leaves you lost. Number 4, of course, not tracking your progress, because that just it leaves you not knowing where you were or where you are, and you'll end up back at step 3, which is lost. And so when you're at number 5, which is the inconsistency, which many of you guys already admitted to, which is not being consistent. And as I alluded to before, is accountability. That's the bonus thing. For drummers who really are serious, that want to take their drumming to the next level, accountability is pretty much the thing that's going to get you to where you're trying to go. If you just had someone if you can hold yourself accountable, you'd be fine. I mean, at the end of the day, you could try to go at it alone. That doesn't make that. I mean, you could. That's the thing that you could do. You could try to go at it alone and hold yourself accountable. But if that was working for you, you wouldn't be here today, right? You would be further along in what you're trying to do. So, but I do want you to ask yourself this question. Like, seriously, what if you had a guide? What if you had someone to help you see through the dark? What if you had someone that held your hand and showed you what you needed to do? How much better would you be? How much faster would you get better? How much time would you not waste? And how much more fun would it be in the process, because you know that you're not doing it alone the entire time? Like, that to me is something that, like, when Jonathan was talking about the kids who are 10 years old and they're incredible. Of course, those kids are just gifted, but there's resources that are available to them. A lot of them, like even a lot of the kids that you see that are like insanely talented, they're not just in a basement by themselves. There's people around them too that are very talented. There's guides. There's a map. There's somebody showing them the way. And so what if that was you? Because you can't have that. And that's what we have created for you with DrumTrax Platinum. We've created a way for you to have an extremely skilled professional, working, touring, endorsed, credentialed, experienced drummer as a coach. Matter of fact, Jonathan himself is, like I said, one of our new drum coaches, and we've made it to where you can actually work with him one-on-one. Now, typically, a one-on-one drum lesson with a drummer that is as credentialed and as skilled as Jonathan could easily cost $200 a session with no follow-up. It's just a one-off thing. It's $200. You pay the money. They get with you on a Zoom or whatever one time, and that's it. You go on about your day. Hopefully you figure it out. That's what it is. But with DrumTrax Platinum, it includes a live one-on-one coaching session monthly where you'll get your skill evaluated. You get a personalized lesson based on where you are. You get a prescribed practice routine on what you should be working on based on where you are. It's personal to you. And you'll get weekly follow-ups via email. And there's more than that. You'll also get DrumTrax Premium, which includes 350 of our pre-recorded drum lessons and courses. You'll also get to stream 300 plus of our drumless tracks, and you get 5 free track downloads per month to use for social media drum covers and do all kinds of things like that. It all is included. And if we break it down, a one-on-one session plus weekly follow-ups would easily be valued at $600 or $7,200 a year. That's expensive. And DrumTrax Premium is valued at $250 a year. So that's a total value of $7,449 a year. That's expensive. We're not going to charge you that at all. But you'll get everything for $150 a month if you sign up with Jonathan for one-on-one coaching. It'll come with everything that I mentioned. That's the one-on-one with him monthly plus the weekly check-ins. That also come with everything that comes with DrumTrax streaming, because we go live every week just like this inside of DrumTrax Premium when we do live Q&As and we do sessions like this as well. So you get access to all of that if you sign up for $150 a month. And I'm going to post the link for you guys to actually sign up in the chat, and I'm gonna pin it to the top of the chat. So if you guys want to sign up for it, the link is in the chat right now, and I just pinned it to the top right there, so you guys can sign up. And if you sign up today before this live stream ends, because we still got Q&A, we're gonna do Q&A. If you sign up before this live stream ends, I'm gonna throw in a bonus, and you'll get the Shed Camp featuring Eric Moore, which is our hand speed, agility, endurance around the kit workout that we usually sell for $300. We're gonna give it to you absolutely free in a download if you sign up and book a time with Jonathan before this live stream ends. All right. And so if you do that because you saw this live, just type in after you book with Jonathan, because what happened is once you sign up and you actually subscribe and you pay, then right after that you'll be taken to a page where you can book a time with Jonathan. And I was actually looking at Jonathan's calendar, and he has times available as soon as tomorrow and next week that are available on his calendar. So I want you guys to take advantage of that. What you do is let Jonathan know, hey, I signed up from the live. We'll send you the Shed Camp easily, just straight to your email. You'll be able to download it and keep it forever. All right, fam. So that's what we got for you. All right. And we can get ready to get into the live. So I hope you guys have your questions ready. And also, if you have any questions about the subscription, you can ask your questions about that too. And I don't know, maybe in the next 30 seconds or so, I'm going to drop a link in the chat as well that'll allow you guys to come on screen if you have some questions. All right. So let's get ready to get into the Q&A. And let me know what you guys think or what your questions are, and we can get your questions answered right now. Jonathan, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, man. We're waiting for you guys' questions as well. I know some of you guys probably went to start signing up, so we're gonna give you a few seconds. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, so we got a question. I see a question right now already from Jordan Johnson. Let's start with his question.
So I am. Yeah, me and Jordan are familiar.
I can't hear you. I mean, I can hear you, but it's like far away.
Far away. I got
now
it.
I can hear you.
All right.
He said, what led to really deep dive into your really advanced coordination independence concepts? The rhythmic cheat sheet is really killer, by the way.
The rhythm, for those of you that don't know, is a conception of some rhythms that I felt were kind of necessary to understand odd time signatures and odd subdivisions. And so I mentioned earlier, it was sort of like a throwaway comment, but like hand coordination is really important to me, where I'm working on an ostinato with one hand, and I'm working on like being able to play other types of patterns with the other. So it is a series of rhythms of and so you have like 3-note rhythms, 4-note rhythms, all the way up to 15. And this is the way it works. So, and I'm sorry for the people that haven't gotten this far. I know there are a couple of more advanced people in the chat, so this is for you guys. So since you guys had to suffer through the molar stuff. And if you guys don't know where I am with this, relax. You will get here soon, hopefully. So I was trying to deal with a way of understanding polymeters, and that is having different subdivision, having different time signatures happen simultaneously. So I would take something like a 3-note pattern and repeat it, but that's 4/4, right? So I'd take a common pattern like either a bossa. Let's do a Bayonne pattern, like a doom, goom, 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 goom pattern. No, layer it. So like maybe quarter notes or eighth notes in the left foot. Like a dotted eighth 3-note pattern, which is this da 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 da, 2 notes, 1 space, rest, 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 and play other different metric like subdivision time signature stuff with the left hand. This is what that sounds like. This is sort of my bread and butter. If I felt like things were a little weird earlier, because this is where my love is. you know, 5, 7, 11, oh, sorry, 9, 13. But it's just for freedom. It's all for the sake of freedom. It's all for the sake of being able to play whatever you want to play with that free limb. So because I'm such a jazz and a fusion guy, I want to not just be able to play, okay, I'm playing pocket or I'm playing chops, right? And those like lusher types of moments where you're just sort of playing on the ride, like you want to play some really delicate snare stuff and really speak with that left hand. It really started from there, and it started from bossa, it started from Bayonne, and it kind of grew into what it is today. Because I mean, yeah, it can get boring doing the same things over and over again. I snuck all that stuff in earlier when I was playing bossa, when I was demonstrating the kick drum stuff. So all of this stuff to me is married. Once you get the you can easily go through like cheat sheet rhythms like 13, which if you know my cheat sheet, you know, this guy. The phrasing that I was playing with my left hand was 4, 4, 5. Like 3 da 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 da, and the way that it revolves around the groove, around the pocket, around the quarter note is so interesting to me. It displaces 4 times because it's an odd number that, you know, is not divisible by 4, and so you get used to these displacements, and it opens your ear up. It makes your time more consistent because you're used to like these weirder landing points, and that's what the cheat sheet to me was all about. It was a way to think about all of this odd stuff, all of these kind of unique phrases, and there are so many things that you can do with that type of thing, but that was sort of just the beginning. That's where it came from to me, and that's kind of how I use it. So I hope that answers your question.
All right. So let's check out another question. Dixon Ewing said, "Would this include a weekly follow?" I'm assuming he's talking about the lessons. Yes, it does include a weekly follow up, as I mentioned, and I'll throw it right back up on the screen, really quickly here. Give me a second. I could bring it back to what it includes. One-on-one coaching session monthly. That's the video call you get every month, but you will have weekly follow-ups via email. You'll send in videos of yourself practicing based on what you were told and what you learned in your lesson and what you were prescribed, and then you will get follow-ups every single week with you can ask questions, and you'll be in contact with your drum coach every single week. So I wanted to answer that for him. Let's hit the next question.
How do I use vocalizing in my regular practice?
Oh yeah, you're jumping down. Let's
go.
Sorry, let's hit it though. There's other questions in line, but it's all good. I got you. You can. That's Surya Sardonicus. I remember you, Surya. What's going on, man? Go ahead, answer this question.
Okay. The easiest way that I do is very similar to what I just showed you. I like taking things that don't equal each other, like playing something in a time signature, and then singing something over it in a different one. Here is a rough example. Some of you guys know me for a while, so you recognize the Super Mario Brothers challenge. This is something that you can type in and probably find me doing. And the way that I came up with this challenge a couple of years ago was singing the Super Mario Brothers theme, but play something in 5. And so you just play a sticking and repeat, and then sing something that you know that it doesn't equal. So paradiddle diddles work good enough for this. In 16th notes, paradiddle diddles have a cool like 3 beat type of structure, right? So I'm thinking the quarter note 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And so I'll sit here and just go da 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 And I, but not just the parent, like the Super Mario Brothers theme, right? Anything that I could think of to sing over any sticking I know that'll have some dissonance to it, I try to play and sing together. That's how I work on like my freedom, because I need to be able to hear those things in my mind when I'm playing, even when I'm not singing, right? And so it's really a way for me to internalize melody and form, and to hear how the phrases that I'm working on fit with those things. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, Surya said he loved it. I see his comment down there. We have another question. Is Molar still viable on really dead slash damned heads?
Um, yes, but with a caveat. So I think no matter what the surface is doing, the motion is valid, right? I think it's still the best way to be efficient and avoid injury, but you may have to make up for the lack of rebound with either wrist strokes or finger strokes. That's
Got you.
something that's a little bit more nuanced than that. And even I, if I want a little bit more pop, will throw my fingers in. So I think a great example of the opposite of this, and I'm sorry for kind of because I think this works with no rebound too. But I think a good example is if you're mastering the 3-note pattern or a jazz pattern on the ride cymbal. So when I think about that pattern, I think about it in 3 different ways. I think about the throw, I think about the bounce, but like, let's be real. It's not really a bounce because the stick is coming up all the way. So I'm simulating what the bounce would be with my fingers. And then pulling or like closing the hand for that throw with that coincides with that upstroke. So that to me looks like this. With the way that what I'm doing is that extra pop, that extra clarity that you feel on the in between notes is my fingers actually working, actually helping the stick move along, right? And so like if you can sit down and do this with your knee, then that's to me like you helping that motion. So yes, you can still do molar, but with caveats.
Okay, and so then let's go on to the next question. Does heavier sticks benefit your hands while practicing?
It's a great question. This is such a weird one because I've heard people that I respect go off on both directions with this thing. I say yes, but with caveat because everything is context, right? So why? If you're using heavy sticks for like a weighted bat for wrist development, for finger development, cool. But you just have to understand that like you're going to have to make that switch. You're going to have to play the sticks that you normally play. And that's just you have to sit down. There's a period where you have to get used to them again, right? Your timing might be off a little because you're overcompensating for the weight that you used to have. And so if you think that the benefits of like more strength training outweigh the having to recalibrate to go to lighter sticks, then I say go for it. Some people disagree.
Okay. So we have another question here from Dickerson UM. He says, do you actually need a drum instructor to get better? What are the benefits of having a drum instructor? I think I can answer this one pretty good. So it's very simple to me. Can you get better at the drums by yourself? Yes, you absolutely can. But I'll tell you this. There is not a drum great or musician great that you see that is legendary or anywhere in between that doesn't talk about that mentor that changed their life. Every drummer that you hear that is amazing always talks about that mentor, that teacher that gave them perspective that they didn't have on their own, that helped them blow past some type of roadblock that helped them get to where they are. And so the benefits of having a teacher is having someone who's further along the journey of where you're trying to travel, a road that they've already traveled down and can actually get you there much quicker. So can you get there? You may eventually get there by yourself. You may not eventually get there. You may end up not getting there. Either way, if you have a coach, it will shorten the time and lessen the pain because they know the pitfalls on the way and they can guide you there. So that's the benefit of having a coach and having someone to be able to show you how to get to where you're trying to go, because they're already there, or they've already been down that road multiple times.
And if I could add a caveat,
sure,
we suck at self-evaluation. We just do. Like, I'm not self-taught. I'm not. Like, I've had several teachers over my life. We suck at self-evaluation. We suck at assessing our own abilities. We either underestimate them or overestimate them, often both in different aspects, right? So to have somebody, an objective third party, to say, hey, like, maybe hold off on this because you may not be a master at it, but your skills are woefully underdeveloped in this area. So if you stop working on this and you work on something more foundational, it's going to like help you it look better because you are way underdeveloped here and you're moderately successful here. And that's just not something that may occur to you if you're sitting down and playing. Sometimes we play from our feelings. When we play, where we practice from our feelings, we practice like, oh, we know that we're good at this, or we know that this is fun. And sometimes it just takes a kick in the butt to say, from someone else to say, stop. I know that you like what you're working on. I know what you think what you're working on is fun, but trust me, if you take a break from that and you refocus, you will even get better at the thing that you're working on right now if you just take a step back and iron some other things out.
Dope. Another question we have here: how to build my speed on an exercise with a metronome. So I think the question is like, if he's practicing something, a pattern or a concept, and he's practicing with a metronome, how does he build the speed up?
There are some questions that I hear that I feel like, and forgive me, right? Because I've been doing this for a long time. But there are some questions that I feel like they're so weird to me because, like, if you're still around, please tell me that you are. Like, say something, because I'm actually more curious. Like, how much time did you spend on a thing and why do you feel stuck? Like, I would love to know the metrics of your practicing and to see like if you've practiced the thing as much as you thought, and that, because that seems to be the biggest the biggest block with people. I think Damani said this earlier, that we overestimate the amount of time that we may spend on something, and we get frustrated too fast, right? So the thing that you, most of the time that you want to build, the thing that help you build speed is just doing it more. And that's like the most unsatisfying answer. But like, let's say that you can practice more, right? Let's say that you can increase the amount of time to from whatever it is and you can double it. Let's say that you're practicing it for 10 minutes and you can practice, and then you say, like, let's practice it for 20 minutes for a week and see what happens, right? I'd be curious about that. I'd be curious to see what that looks like, if you're actually timing your exercises at all, right? Because I time all of my exercises. I know exactly how long I spend on each thing. So there's no surprise to me on the areas that I suck versus the things that I improve on. So unfortunately, like, that's with as much information as I have, I can't really tell you because I don't know what you're doing wrong.
Yeah. And so let's see. Do someone can you play 7779311? LOL.
I can't. I can't, but I can play 7 days by Sting in 13.
Yeah, I think it's all just a matter of what you focus on and what you're spending your time
Like,
practicing.
right. Like, so, I mean, I know that was a meme that went out, just like, left foot clave and playing, you know, uh, breaking my heart by mint condition. Like I know that these like things that just kind of go through, but that's just something that I didn't do.
Right. Someone put, can you send the link,
Oh,
please? And
that's for the cheat sheet, I think.
well, someone asked, this person asked, is the cheat sheet still available
Yeah, yeah. If you look up the cheat sheet episode
on your YouTube
on my
channel?
YouTube
Mhm.
channel, my YouTube channel is called Drumosophy. Very good job on that, Damani. By the way, a lot of people get that wrong for some weird reason. But it's DRUMOSO. Well, yeah, OSOPHY. So I stole that from philosophy. So drumosophy, drum and philosophy together.
Yep.
And it should be in the description of that video.
Yep. And so we got another question that says, how do you have any tips to avoid stick creep?
I don't. That is the bane of my existence, and I've embraced it because I've discovered that I understand why I start to play from certain positions. And if I
Gotcha.
record myself play, I can see where I am, where my hands are on the stick during various times. If I am trying to do like a lot of buzzy or New Orleans second line or like trying to be really delicate, like I see that I'm sort of here. If I'm playing with power, or if I'm trying to avoid playing rebound because the venue is so um acoustically challenging that I have to literally play like this. Like if I have to play as quietly as humanly possible, then I am here because I am controlling every ounce of what I'm playing from my wrists.
Got you. So we got a question from Brandon Jenkins. This is a little offside. Do you guys offer lessons on incorporating SPD pads and programming show tracks / backing tracks? No, we focus more on actually just playing the drums. That's kind of what we do. So we got how to build speed. Oh, we did that question. Did we do that question? They must have asked it again.
Yeah.
This is a good question. How do you pick a drum instructor for yourself? I mean, how do you know you want to learn from this person?
Most of
For
the I'm
oh,
sorry.
yeah, I have. Go ahead. I'll let you answer first.
When I take lessons from someone, it's because they have something I want and that I don't have. That's it. So if there's something that I look and it's sort of a mystery to me, or if I see them playing and they're consistently sort of just blowing my mind with something that I'm interested in, then I'm going to reach out to them because I know that like it's going to be easier than me just sitting and fumbling and trying to do it on my own. Now, if I can do it on my own, then I usually try to, and like that stubbornness kind of creeps in, right? That whole idea of like, oh, okay, I can do. I think I feel like I know what you're doing, and then sometimes I'm right and sometimes I'm wrong. But when the times I'm completely in the dark or I'm completely lost, um, then without questions, I go to that person and say, hey, like, can we schedule a lesson because you do this thing and I have no idea where to start.
Right. I mean, my answer is pretty much the same. That was it. Like something I can't do, you can do it. You can show me the way, and it take me a short amount of time to get it done because I can actually learn from someone who knows what they're doing. Like when you think about it, that's how we learned everything. Even when we learned how to talk, we learned how to talk from being around people who've been talking for a very long time, and we picked up on it. And then we went to school, and people who actually knew how to talk and knew grammar and the structure of things very well taught us. That's how you learn, especially if you want to, learn. But then there's those of us who didn't. They dropped out of school or they didn't learn, and you can hear it in their speech. You can see it in their vocabulary and all of that type of thing. So let's see. Oh, Bud Cyan, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. This is ways to work on finger technique? Question mark.
So there is a variation of the clapping exercise, which I actually did not go over this time, but it just does it from the fingers. So it just opens and closes the hands from the fingers. This has been really helpful, but there are a couple of other things that I want to suggest because that doesn't really help you control the stick. It just helps to kind of build the general strength in order to do it. The best thing that I've done in order to work on finger technique is to practice this. You take the stick, you spread your hands out a little bit, your fingers out a little bit, and then you practice like moving the stick back and forth. This was so hard for me at the beginning because I didn't want to keep it still and I didn't want to move in like a straight line. So the thing that I'm working on here isn't like pushing my thumb, right? This is very important because your thumb, to me, and when I practice, it's an anchor, right? I am moving the stick around with my fingers. I'm moving the stick around my thumb with my other fingers. So the thing that I'm working on is really controlling what fingers are doing what. So I think about pulling the stick forward with the bottom fingers here. And then when I want to move the stick up, I try to do it with the top finger, like with my index finger. And I just go back and forth. And this was just like the hardest thing in the world for me, especially in my left hand, right? But the idea is that once you learn how to stabilize the stick in your hand, like that's the biggest thing. And then you take that and then you move it to the drum or a pad and you just say, okay, can I take this and actually play with it? And you do very similar to the molar thing. You throw it on the pad or the drum and you pay attention to what happens. If it moves askew left to the right, you know you have to work on just getting that solid note down. But that starts to happen, that and it starts to feel better, and you start to get used to that path, and then it starts to like, okay, now everything is streamlined, and then you just sit there with it and you work with it until it starts to be more and more streamlined and faster and more stable. And that's just, I mean, that's literally, I feel like I just described practicing everything. If you're working on a slow tempo, if you're working on a chop or a pattern, I feel like every single thing that I just said applies to everything that you practice.
Yep. Okay. So we have what appears to be our last question. Let's see. Yes, and it's from Pocket Drummer. And the question is, what is the most helpful tip you can give us going forward?
Be kind to yourself.
I can make that super duper simple and easy.
Oh my God. Yeah. Be kind to yourself. Like, remember that the internet's not real. Um, in a few different ways, but in no way should you be deriving your self-worth over what you can and cannot do on the drums, or or worse, what someone else can or cannot do on the drums. You are not a you are not a worse human being because you are not as far with the molar technique as I am, or someone else that you see on social media, right? So don't beat yourself up over. Sorry, can you read that for me?
It says, okay, don't beat yourself up over failed practices and mistakes.
It's a little bit more fundamental than that. So because beating yourself up is like the extreme, I guess. It's more. It's because it's not like even taking it on the chin. It's putting things in practice. Like, you know, we are human beings and this is a journey, and it is the truth that some days this is just going to feel better than others, and the acceptance of that truth is going to give you longevity, because you're not going to put value on whether or not today was a good day. It's just another day, and the things got done that got done, and the next time you can try to do better. And that's all we can do is try. And so, yeah, don't beat yourself up, but like, more to the point, the more you open yourself up to like seeing music as a human experience, the more holistic your art is going to be.
Wow. I like that. Okay. Well, looks like we are out of questions here. We've made it to the last of the questions. And so we want to thank you, Jonathan, for coming on and for giving out so much value. And again, we want to let you guys know that you guys can sign up with Jonathan, and if you guys do take one lessons with Jonathan, you will automatically be enrolled in DrumTrax Platinum, which gives you access to everything, including our weekly live streams. And links are pinned to the chat. But once this live stream is over, you'll still be able to see the page for a while, but by tomorrow you won't be able to see it anymore, and we'll send you guys an email as well, so we can make it work. But I'll definitely look forward to doing another one of these and doing another one of these types of hangs and making it work. So I appreciate you guys for coming out. We appreciate you, Jonathan, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Thank you, guys.